On the 12th Wonder card, my game dev gave to me, Purpurea the Mystic Flame. Everybody, welcome to Wonders Workshop. Happy holidays. And today we are going to be talking about power scaling just through the fun medium of the 12 Days of Christmas or the 12 Cards of Wonders. So I've picked a card from cost 1 through 12, and we're just going to be talking about how different cards are powerful at different energies and doing it with a little bit of holiday cheer, because why not? So starting us off at 1 cost is going to be Floki, Born in Fire. So a lot of us know this card. It came in several of the precons that include Sulfera. 1 cost, 2 power. It gets Hoard 1. If you control 1 stone, it gets +2. But one of the big things for this card is its first line of text. If it's round 1, the first time you seize a stone, gain an action. So for 1 cost, if you can play this round 1, you can, for basically 1 energy or 0, if you get a land out, you can potentially seize a stone, gain an action, and make it a 4 power wonder. For 1 cost, this is really, really good. And you'll see as we scale up, what you get for your cost goes up and up and up. And so this card can be equally powerful, if not more powerful, in round 1 than Purpurea the Mystic Flame could be in round 7. It's all about looking at power scaling and how much your energy costs you throughout the game. In round 1, 1 energy is a lot of resources, versus in round 7, 12 might not be as much. So this is kind of what we are going to be going through today, and I'm really excited just to talk about these and think about how power scaling works. I think it's really cool. So on the second Wonders card my game dev gave to me, Scorpion's Edge. For those of you who are not familiar, Scorpion's Edge is an equipment. It's a attuned heliosynth equipment that says equipped wonder gets +2 at the end of the round, return this to your hand. So it's also a secondary item, which is really nice. So for 2 energy, you don't have to spend an action. So you basically get a free action to every round change up where you're getting buffs where you want them. Obviously, this is better in decks that are made for equipments. But I tried to give every orbital 2 pieces of representation here, so I'm just trying to keep that in mind as well. I'm just picking some cards that are examples. But for 2 energy, potentially 1, you can get a no action. You can get +2 in whatever round you want, and you can move it around from round to round. I would say that's really great, especially early game or even late game, and especially if you're playing an equipment deck. So again, we don't think of this as a bomb. This is not a crazy card, but it can make a huge difference for what you're paying for it. Option 3 is Power of 3. And I'm sure many of y'all are familiar with this card. It is a secondary spell from Umberthine called Rite of Fate. And so you can have a bunch of copies of it. This has made my list before as one of the most powerful cards. I think it was the best rare in Umberthine on my list a couple videos ago. But what this does is it says for 3 cost, each player draws a card, look at the player's hand. Look at each player's hand. Each player discards a card of your choice. So for 1 action, you and 2 to 3 energy on the card, you're getting to draw a card, which is automatically getting you an action. You get to look at each player's hand, which is massive in some games. Knowing what your opponents have is a huge deal. A lot of the best players can just know it based on what you're playing, but c'est la vie. If you're not that good yet, then you can just look at what they have with this card. And then on top of that, each player discards a card of your choice. So you get to get rid of the best cards in your opponent's hand. And if you're playing this card, there's a potential you're running some discard benefits. So you get to discard a card either that you don't want or that you want to discard. all for 3 energy. Extremely powerful when used the right way. That's what you're going to see with a lot of these lower cost cards. They don't have that big bomb ability that some of these 10, 11, 12 cost cards have, but if you play them right, they can make a game-changing difference. The 4 power card on the 4th day my game dev gave to me, we have Caliph. She is a 4 cost, 4 power wonder. On play, you may tap or untap target item or land. She has Betrayal Link, and you can harvest her to gain 1 action. And so there's a lot of things to think about with her. You are essentially netting yourself 3 actions. Because you're getting more actions than what you're paying for. Cap explains this all the time. Y'all don't most likely need me to explain this to you, but when you untap a land and you harvest her, you are obviously getting more actions for what you had. And so she's an extremely powerful 4 cost card, and on top of all of this, she's also 4 power, which 4 power can be plenty enough to swing the math in any realm. Another meta powerhouse is our 5 cost card, and that is going to be Lumina Scarab. We should all be very familiar with Lumina Scarab. On attack, put a null counter on target land. Capricorn has made this a menace in competitive play, as have many others. And it just, when you go out with this thing and you start nulling your opponent's land, you attack, null, attack, null, attack, null, it can wipe them straight out of the game. So for 5 cost, especially if you get a Moonfire Crystal Mouse out early and then you get this out even earlier, you can completely prevent your opponent from playing. All for 5 energy. And so 5 energy there is a bomb in and of its own right. Number 6 is for 6 energy is Razia. Balakai. We should all also be, I picked a lot of the meta cards so that people would know what I was talking about. Razia is a 6 cost, 9 power wonder. But he's attuned, which means that it doesn't cost you an action to play him. And he has a tap free ability. So you get to give target wonder +5 this round and another target wonder -5 this round. So you're going to change the math in 3 realms, playing Razia and using his tap free ability. Crazy powerful for 6 energy. And what this looks like changes depending on where you are in the game. A lot of people save this up till round 7 so that it matters. Other people play his tap free ability earlier. Whatever works best for you in that moment. And then the cost 7 is Pastel Bloom Drakes. Or Pastel Bloom Drake. This is another card that part of the reason that it's so good is because this is a card that the reason that it's so good in the meta right now is because you can play it for free. So I thought this was a fun example to throw on there. When this card is 7 cost for 7 power, if this would be banished, put it in a target realm instead flying, it's one of those cards that are kind of like, meh, like you might play it, you might not. You'd have to really need to play it or want to play it or be really worried about banishment to play it. But if you can cheat it out for 0 cost, then it becomes a crazy powerhouse card. So on the 0th day on the 0th card of Wonders, my game to me, Pastel Bloom Drakes. And so this goes to show you what the difference in cost on a card can mean. At 0 cost, being able to banish it from your deck and put it into target realm, people are playing Pastel Bloom Drakes like crazy. At 7 cost, people really aren't playing it very much. And so that's a good example. Blauzefell, that people are familiar with as well from competitive play, is an 8 cost card. This is you set it up right, you win the game card. This is the perfect example of a bomb. I talked about this earlier. Cap does a really great job explaining it and how he uses it in one of his gameplay videos from the World Final. But it is an 8-cost card with 9 power, and its tapped action is banish this. Target player loses all energy and actions. And so if you use Blaufel's tap ability in round 7 and your opponent can't do anything, the game is just over. They literally, if they have no energy and no actions, they can only use free actions, and that's only going to get them but so far. So again, a game ender here. Once we start getting up to this 8 and above, we're in bomb territory, where the way they do it just is different, and what it means is different. This, you have to be able to set it up right to be able to win. You have to do this right to use Blauzefell as a win condition and as a bomb to win. Autumn is a 9-cost card, 6 power, with the ability tap free, banish this, shuffle all wonders you own into the abyss, distribute them as evenly as possible in all realms, face down, then flip them up. Each opponent does the same. If you build your deck right, if you know that you're playing graveyard and your opponent isn't, then Autumn is going to help you. That's pretty much how this works. As long as you have more cards in your graveyard that have more on-arrival triggers, or your opponent doesn't have some sort of game-winning on-arrival trigger in their graveyard, bad habits, then you know that Autumn will win you the game in the last round if you play it right. Especially if you do a board wipe right before or something. And so for 9 costs, you can get something that you don't really have to set up as thoroughly, but you just have to plan your deck right and pay attention to what your opponent's doing, rather than making sure that you can use Blauzefel's ability. You're going first in round 7 to just be able to tap and go. For 10 energy, you can play Azure Sky Citation. It will give you a total of 23 power on the board. 23 flying power, because Azure Sky Citation itself is 13 power, and it creates 2 5-power Aula tokens with flying. So, in the realm that it's in. So, you can have 23 power flying from realm to realm to realm, or you can have 13 power and 5 power, or 13 power and 10 power, or 13 power and 5 power and 5 power, all going to different places. Extremely powerful, huge bomb. I've seen this win games if people don't have a response to it. This is the kind of thing that you have to watch for your opponent having in their graveyard if you're playing Autumn. So again, this is another card that, as long as you're not like crazy losing, you drop Azure Sky Citation and people have to react to it. It can be a huge way to win the game. And so it makes sense that it's 10 energy. You basically drop it and it's just going to make things go crazy. For 11 energy, you can play Corruption Orb. There's only 2 cards, I think, with 11 costs, and I've decided to go with this one. Got to give my card a little bit of love. Corruption Warp says, destroy all wonders that aren't legendary. And so you can have 1 copy of this. It combos really well with a lot of stuff, but also if you just have a lot of legendary wonders out and your opponent doesn't, then you can win the game. Obviously, board wipes are expensive, so it makes sense that this is among one of the more expensive cards in the game, because if you destroy all of your opponent's wonders because they don't have any legendary wonders out, then that puts them back at step 0, especially if you're planning for this and have a bunch of legendary wonders out. And that brings us to the 12th card of wonders, Purpurea the Mystic Flame. It is a 12 cost, 10 power flying dragon flame beast. And it has the on play trigger, banish the lowest numbered realm, and it has flying. So a lot of stuff happening here. On play, if you are losing in the lowest numbered realm, you automatically on play, you automatically banish the lowest numbered realm. If you're losing, then that's a big deal, and it's a great win for you. If you're winning, that's not so great. But it is also a 10 power flyer. There's a lot that you can do with 10 power to fly around the board. Azure Sky Citation is a great example of that. This is just 10 power dropping, but it's also completely wiping the lowest numbered realm, which then, if there's no stone control there, or you have something that you can quickly play there, then you can just take that back really quickly. The lowest numbered realm is the tiebreaker, so this is a huge deal because of that. So as you can see, there is a huge difference between Floki Born in Fire and Purpurea the Mystic Flame, but both can win you the game in the right moment, or set you up to win the game in the right moment. If you play Floki round one, start off with a good start, can just keep things going and keep playing well throughout the game, that's a huge advantage. Or in round 7, you're building up and you drop a card like Purpurea or Corruption Warp, and you're just like, boom, that's what I have to say about that. You drop your bomb and the game completely changes. And usually if you play your bomb right, it means you're winning. So a 1 energy card can be just as powerful as a 12 energy card. It's just about how you use them. So that's what I've got for you today. Like I said, happy holidays. I hope y'all have a fantastic Christmas, whatever holiday you celebrate. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and keep being your wonderful selves.